So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, let's continue with the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 29th verse. And this is chapter 29th verse.
Udavotyaya Brahma Sakhe Samavadharitam Apite Vigato Moha Shokas Chaso Manobhavaha. Translation: My dear friend Uddav, have you now completely understood this transcendental knowledge? Are the confusion and lamentation that arose in your mind now dispelled?
So, similar question was asked by Krishna to Arjuna at the end of the Bhagavad Gita. Have you understood? Do you understand your duty now? So, Krishna is very sensitive. He'll answer the questions and then he'll ask, have you understood what I've told you? Perfect teacher. This chapter is entitled Bhakti Yoga, thinking that the previously described spiritual practice based on detachment is too difficult. Uddhav inquired about an easier method, because in the last session, if we remember, it was all about Gyan Yoga and how to control the mind through knowledge. But the practice is not easy. So Uddhav inquired about an easier method. In reply, Lord Krishna gives brief instructions on Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. So Uddhava said he feared that the method of yoga described by Krishna was very difficult for one who cannot control his mind, and he requested the Lord to explain in simple terms how someone can more easily achieve perfection. Generally, yogis who try to steady the mind experience frustration because of their inability to perfect the state of trance and control the mind. However, those who take pride in their accomplishments in yoga and karma fail to take shelter of the Lord and are defeated by his illusory energy. So very good point by Udavs. So, because if the yoga system is too hard, you won't even make the effort. And our minds are so difficult to control. Anything based on mind control is challenging for us. So Uddhav is asking, what are the alternatives? Uddhav states that who the Lord is this Lord is so intimate during your appearance as Lord Ramachandra, even while great demigods like Brahma were willing to serve him, Ram displayed special affection for monkeys, such as Hanuman. So this is the extraordinary pastime of Lord Ramachandra. He took the help of the monkeys. He had all the devatas were there to serve him, but who did he pick to serve? The monkeys, because they had taken exclusive shelter of him. Who would reject the Lord and accept something for the sake of material enjoyment, which leads to forgetfulness of the Lord? And what lack is there for us who are engaged in the service of the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord? So then Krishna smilingly spoke to Uddhav, describing the principles of devotion to him as follows. Always remember me. So Krishna is saying, one should perform, always remembering me, one should perform all his duties for me. So he says a similar thing to Arjuna as well. Remember me and fight, one of the verses in the Bhagavad Gita. With mind and intelligence, one should fix his mind in attraction to my service. So there's so many different types of services for God. Whatever we like to do, we can engage in that in service of the Lord. This is the beauty of Bhakti Yoga. It's not some hard and fast, you have to sit and meditate. You can't control the mind, you have to sit and meditate. And that's it. No, you can actually fix your mind in any seva for the Supreme Lord. And whatever seva you like, for example. One should take shelter of holy places where my saintly devotees reside. One should be guided by the exemplary activities of my devotees. One should serve the Lord and celebrate the festivals and holidays in my honor. One should see me, the Supreme Soul, within all beings and also within oneself. By understanding all beings to be his place of residence, constantly meditate upon Krishna's presence within all persons. And the bad tendencies of rivalry, envy, along with false ego are destroyed. View the Lord to be unblemished by anything material and he's present everywhere. Disregard the ridicule of one's companions. Disregard the ridicule, disregard the attachment. Don't be too attached to companions. Don't be attached to the family. Not too attached, because at the end of the day, attachment will keep us here. One should offer obeisances to all, even the dogs, outcasts, cows, asses. This is external. Sometimes if we even have a mood externally, that can be internalized. So externally, if we are humble, that can be internalized as well. Be freed thus from all doubts, one gives up fruitive activities. So always doing something for ourselves is our sort of greedy tendency. But when we start giving up, doing just things for ourselves, but doing things for others, especially in the service of the Lord, then we become happy as well. The Lord considers this process, using one's mind, words, bodily functions for realizing Him, to be the best possible method of spiritual enlightenment. Because this eternal process of devotional service, bhakti to the Supreme Lord, is transcendental and has been established by the Lord Himself, it can never, to the slightest extent, be defeated or proved fruitless. So Krishna, again, he mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, even a small amount of progress in this path can save one from the greatest danger. So any little seva even we try to do for the Lord will simply be with us forever. We will never be lost. This is the beauty of Bhakti Yoga. This compares to a dangerous situation in which an ordinary person cries, becomes fearful and laments, although such useless emotions do not change the situation. When one offers himself completely to the Supreme Lord with exclusive devotion, the Lord becomes particularly pleased, and thus the devotee achieves immortality, becoming qualified to obtain opulence equal to that of the Lord. Of course, the devotee doesn't want any opulence, because his interest is simply service. If the opulence is getting in the way of his service, he'll renounce the opulence. This is the greatness of the devotee. This process is the supreme intelligence of the intelligent and the cleverness of the most clever. For by following it, one can, in this very life, make use of this, the temporary, to achieve the permanent, the Supreme Lord. The temporary is this world. So we are in a disadvantaged position because we are in a temporary situation. But we can use that disadvantaged situation to our advantage, because we know we are in a vulnerable position. We are weak. We have all sorts of faults. So we can use this disadvantage and in humility connect with the Supreme Lord, connect with the permanent. So we can use the temporary to serve, to achieve the Supreme Lord. Even for the demigods, this science is very difficult to comprehend. We shouldn't think that the science of God consciousness is easy. It's not. It's just like any subject matter in this material world. If you want to master it, you have to really study it. So spiritual life is exactly the same. But even after mastering it, you never actually get to the essence of it, because it's so deep. It's very, very difficult to comprehend, even for the demigods. That's why we don't necessarily try to understand so much as more we would try to perform loving service to the Supreme Lord. When we perform loving service, he says in the Bhagavad Gita, to those who are constantly devoted to me, I give them the understanding by which they come to me. So we don't worry too much whether we understand or we don't understand, whether we've got the knowledge of transcending this material world. It doesn't matter, because as long as we perform bhakti to the Supreme Lord, loving devotional service, he'll give us what we need in order to transcend this world. This is the most amazing thing about bhakti. But he'll give more than bhakti. The Lord gave this knowledge to Uddhav with clear reasoning. Anyone who properly understands it will become free from all doubt and attain liberation. Those who share this knowledge among the Lord's devotees is the bestower of the absolute truth. And to him, the Lord will give his own self. This is really powerful. Those who recite and listen to this supreme knowledge become purified, and will never become bound by karma. So the Lord he becomes very, very happy when we share this knowledge with others. Firstly, before sharing it, we have to have this knowledge, right? A little bit at least. Don't have to have a lot of knowledge. Just some deep faith and some willingness to serve the Lord. That's enough. And we can share that knowledge that we have and the willingness. We can share the enthusiasm with others. And we just have to do that. And the Lord, he becomes indebted. He says again in the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, he says, that person who shares this secret with others, he's very dear to me. And then in the next verse, I think it's 1869, he says, in this world, there is no servant who's more dear to me than this person. So we are very fortunate that we can actually try to understand Krishna consciousness. It doesn't even have to be at a deep level. And let's share it with others. Krishna asks his friend whether he has now completely understood this transcendental knowledge and whether the confusion and lamentation in his mind has now gone. Krishna also says that the instructions should not be shared with anyone who's hypocritical or atheistic or dishonest, or anyone who will not listen faithfully, who is not a devotee and is simply not humble. Why? Because this will make that person even more antagonistic towards God. And we don't want to make anybody antagonistic towards God. This knowledge should be taught to one who is free from all these bad habits, qualities, who is dedicated to the welfare of the Brahmins, who is kindly disposed, saintly and pure. When an inquisitive person comes to understand this knowledge, he has nothing further to know. Sukadeva Goswami said, hearing these words spoken by Lord Krishna, and having thus been shown the entire path of yoga, Uddhav folded his hands to offer obeisances, but his throat choked up with love and his eyes overwhelmed with tears. He could say nothing. Steadying the mind, which had become overwhelmed with love, Uddhav felt extremely grateful to Lord Krishna. So then Sukadeva Goswami continues, my dear Parikshit Maharaj, Uddhav bowed down his head to touch the lotus feet of the Lord, and then he spoke with folded hands. Uddhav said, although I have fallen into this great darkness of illusion, my ignorance has now been dispelled by your merciful association. Indeed, how can cold, darkness, fear exert their power over one who has approached the brilliant sun? What devotee of yours who has any gratitude could ever give up your lotus feet and take shelter of another master? The firmly binding rope of my affection for the families of Dashaharas, Vrishnis, Andakas, and Sattvatas is now cut by the weapon of transcendental knowledge of the self. So he requests further instructions from Krishna. Krishna said, okay, you should go to Badrikashram. Purify yourself by both touching and also bathing in the holy waters there, which have emanated from my lotus feet. Dress yourself in bark and eat whatever is naturally available in the forest. Remain content and free from desire and endowed with transcendental knowledge and realization. meditate constantly upon these instructions I've imparted to you and assimilate their essence. Fix your words and thoughts upon me. Always endeavor to increase your realization of my transcendental qualities. In this way, you will cross beyond the destination of the three modes of true nature and finally come back to me. So Uddhav, of course, was a self-realized soul. He was very close to Krishna. So these instructions are given to Uddhav, actually are meant for us. So if possible, we have to try as best as we can in this life to try to do as much bhakti, try to understand as much as we can, because this is real knowledge. This is which will stay with us even after we leave this body and go into the next life. This bhakti will continue to stay with us. Everything else will be left behind. You can try to earn lots and lots of money and have lots of properties and cars and this and that and the other. It'll all be left behind when we leave the body. But bhakti continues with us. It's never dead, never dies, never finishes. After receiving these instructions, Uddhav circumambulated the Lord and then fell down, placing his head upon the Lord's feet. Although his heart was breaking, he then went to Badrikashrama in pursuance of the Lord Krishna's order. And by perfectly carrying out the instructions of the Supreme Lord, he attained the Lord's transcendental abode. Srimad Bhagavatam 29th chapter ki jai. Any questions, any comments?
Prabhuji, just a realization. When I was reading this and coming towards the last question, last verses of this chapter about Uddhav leaving Krishna, I felt quite emotional that how Uddhav must have felt leaving Lord Krishna and then going away. It is just seeing Lord Krishna there and then leaving him. It brought a bit of a tears in my eyes. What a great association, and then suddenly nothing left. Krishna gone.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, because if you remember, right at the beginning of the 11th canto, Udavs says to Krishna, "Take me with you. Take me with you back to the spiritual world." And Krishna said, "No, you got things to do here. You can't come with me yet." So yeah, this was a huge. And when he met with Vidur, Uddhav was completely devastated. Vidur asked him so many questions, and Uddhav said, "Okay, you know what? I've got to go. But you can talk to Maitreya Rishi. He was there as well with Krishna." So in that way, you're absolutely right. Uddhav was completely devastated with the departure of the Lord, having his association. And Uddhav was often consulted by the Lord. What do we do in this situation, Uddhav? And, of course, the Lord knows exactly what to do, but they were so intimately close to each other. So, yes, you're absolutely right. The loss felt by Uddhav, we can never understand. Same with the gopis, right? Krishna leaves. But then he leaves and they become even more attached to him in separation. And this is what he couldn't understand, Krishna. How do they love me so much, even in separation? And so he stole the bhav of Radharani and came as Chaitanya to understand this. But yeah, you're right.
Prabhuji, I was listening to somebody's lecture, and they were saying that Krishna's story is all about separation rather than staying together, because he leaves everything behind, everyone behind, including his parents, gopis, his Gokul, Vrindavan, everything he leaves behind, and then he goes away. So it is a story of separation throughout his life.
Yeah. For him, yes. And for his devotees, yes. But that separation leads to greater feelings of love. This is the thing that separation was so deep. Like, he never leaves Vrindavan, right? We know that. He's still there. But the gopis, because they saw him leave on the chariot, they were convinced he's left, but he's right in front of them. But they wouldn't have it. Even he would be talking to them and saying, hey, I'm here. No, he left. We're just imagining him. Their love was so intense. Hard for us to understand, actually. No, thank you.
Prabhuji, I have to leave now. Okay.
Yeah.
See
Thank
you
you for sharing.
on Monday.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Of course, the devotee, he will always abide by the Lord's injunction. If the Lord says, you stay away from me, you stay in this world, the devotee will not argue. He will say, yes, my dear Lord, whatever you want. If you want to keep me brokenhearted by being away from me, so be it. But my love is with you. Papa Ben.
It's my son wants.
Hi, Hare Krishna, everyone. Hello.
Yeah, how are you?
Deepak wants.
I'm okay. It's actually, I want to say a very quick story because this happened today, and then it's a bit of an irony that I walked in and this was the verse that was going on. So I'm going to cut a story really quickly. I hope no one minds. So this morning I had to go into the city. I went to prep. I got my coffee, and the lady said to me, "Oh, we're giving away free iced coffee. Do you want any?" And I said, "No, not really." And then I said, "Why don't you give it to the homeless people?" And she said, "Oh, that's a good idea. Do you mind giving some to them?" And I said, "Oh, all right, fine." So she gave me like a whole load of them. So I took them in the bag. I had an appointment, but I was detoured on that appointment for whatever reason. And I ended up walking past Govinda's, the Soho Hare Krishna temple. And I thought, well, I think homeless people are always passing by there. So I thought maybe I can go in Govinda's and say, hey, I've got these iced coffees. If anyone is a homeless, why don't, you could give it to them. And for whatever reason, I'm walking in and I opened the door and I ended up walking into the temple side. For the very first time in my life, right? I've never been into the temple ever. So the lady said, Hare Krishna. I said, Hare Krishna. And I was like, she said, temple is upstairs. It's open upstairs. I went, oh, okay. So I ended up going upstairs. I went into the puja room with my iced coffees. This all happened this morning. My mum doesn't even know this has happened. And there I am in front of the deities. And I just thought, oh, I don't know how I've ended up here all of a sudden. I sat down and it was very calm and everyone was, doing the Hare Krishna. And I sat there for 15 minutes. There was a couple of kids playing around and I went into this complete state of all of a sudden, everything just went like, I'm sure you've been into the Soho Hare Krishna temple, it's quite small. I was never been in there. And I thought, this is really strange. Like, I don't know, I just ended up there, just like that. Anyway, after about 10, 15 minutes, I guess the Prabhu, he shut the curtains, so the curtains closed. And then, I sort of bowed and I walked out and, took my bag of coffees, said Hare Krishna to the lady, walked out, came outside, and I went, that was surreal. And I went, oh, Hare Krishna. I went, oh, and all I'm doing is looking for homeless people. I turned the corner and I saw these builders, and they're all there, having a fag and that. So I said, hey guys, would you like some coffees? Like, I've got these iced coffees. And it's really kind of you. I have thought for it. Like, yeah, sure. So I gave all these builders all these coffees, and that was it. And I kind of walked away from that, and I didn't really think anything of it. I thought my intention was for homeless people, and I did find a couple, but then I couldn't find any. Then I ended up accidentally on a detour, ended up in a Hare Krishna temple, come outside. I said, right, let me find some homeless people. I found some builders instead, and I thought it's fine. And so to me, it's like just a coincidental funny story because, I'm not that understanding of it, but I still think about it a lot because of the work I've done previously. And then in this story, what you said today about, I don't practice the Bhakti Yoga or anything like that.
Meditation.
But and there was nothing in it for me that, oh, I'm doing this for Krishna, I'm doing this for him, or I'm doing it for anyone. It literally, I was offered free coffee. I said, why don't you just give it to the homeless? Like, you're going to throw it away otherwise anyway. And that was it. There's no angle in it for me. And I just thought, this kind of happened. But in that act, and because we just ended up reading, it's all coincidental. None of this is planned, right? From my perspective, is that a form of service? Because because, you know, I'm really mindful of the ego and how that operates. Because to me, there was nothing in it. I would have just done it anyway. You know, it's just me. This is the way I am. Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And it's so nice that you went and had darshan of the deities and you sat and, you know, listened and meditated. It's really good. That's really spontaneous bhakti yoga. Well done.
Just like that. Can you believe that, Mum?
No.
I went today just like that.
I don't believe it.
Just
Suddenly, it just suddenly happened, isn't it? Like it wasn't his intention to go there, but Krishna made him to go there.
He made me laugh because I said Krishna is let
you in.
Yeah, this is
It's
the
all coincidence.
you got to watch out for Krishna. I'll warn you.
Yeah,
He does these things. You know, he'll trick you. He's very crooked. Ramachandra, he's very straight. Krishna, I tell you, he's got you now. He's got you.
It's quite. What was that? Sorry,
you're finished. He's got you.
He's got you.
It's like it was almost like I was just manipulated into this. I mean, Krishna is very political.
You wait. Oh, you wait. You're in for a heck of a ride.
I mean, I can't even explain how that would have happened, because I was thinking I'll go into Govinda's and get coffee, and I ended up walking into the temple.
You wait. You're gonna be shaven headed, orange clothes, Krishna on the street. Yeah, man, I can just see you.
I can't. I mean, this is a genuinely true story, and I cannot tell you. I can't even explain it. But the thread of it was. For me, it started with the intention of saying, why don't you give the coffees to the homeless rather than giving them away to people that can pay for them? And the lady was like, can you help do this? And I said, okay. And it wasn't like, well, I'm a Krishna devotee, so I'm going to do it. That's not in my mind. It's like, oh, I'll just go and do this because I can. And that's it. There's nothing else. And in this whole thing, this is what happened. And then listening to this canto is very interesting because I'm not, and what you said, it was like, don't try and understand it because it's beyond. I've accepted this. I accepted this about Krishna. I don't try and understand. We're not clever enough, nearly intelligent enough to understand it. So why bother? It's like it's beyond that, beyond the physical intelligence. Anyway, funny, but there you go.
No, well done. Thank you for sharing that. It was very interesting. How
was your experience in the temple?
Yeah.
How did you find it?
You know, it was just very calming. Very calming. It was very quiet. There's you know, and you get a mix of people in there. So because I have this view of growing up, when you go to a mandir, it's always Indian people, but in there you got all, you know, colors, all shapes, sizes. So there was a mix of people in there, little kids playing around. And like I said, I didn't know what to expect because I'd never been in there, but it was just like this very surreal feeling. And you know, I don't meditate because I don't really know how to. My mind goes all over the place. But I was just
join the gang.
Sorry,
join the gang.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, in a monkey mind. But my point is that I was sat there, and all of a sudden I just thought, you know, like this is just nice. Like all my sort of worries and troubles of work, and you know, we talked about this last week and everything. I just like, you know, this is quite nice, isn't it? You know, I'm just like, and purely by I want to say by accident, but I think you know what you said, Krishna's he's a clever dude, mate. I don't know. He's like, oh, where you going?
He's got you. I love it.
Anyway.
Love it. Nice one. Thank you for sharing that. Really good. So
Thank you.
We've got a few minutes, if devotees don't mind. Tomorrow is some amazing day, and what I wanted to do was share something which is so special for us, which is I'll put it in here. It's about Ganga Mata. Have you got your passports? Have you everybody got your passports and your gamcha, your bathing suits, because we're gonna just take a quick dip in the Ganga. So, Papa તમને swimming કરતા આવડે છે?
Sorry, are you talking to me?
Yeah.
What did you say?
You know,
only joking.
Oh no. Yeah, I did try, but I couldn't.
So Ganga Mata is very important. She comes from the spiritual world, and she comes to purify us. She's in this world, she came when Lord Vamandev pierced a hole in the covering of the universe. And here he is. He made that hole by the tip of his toe. And eventually Ganga Mata came to this world. Of course, Lord Shiva facilitated her appearance. But the reason why she came was to purify some kings, some princes rather.
She was in the heavens until this day.
That's right, until she came to this world. Now, why did she come? Because there was a king called Bhagirath.
King Sagar.
King Sagar. His sons were the ones who were killed by Kapil Muni's anger. But their descendant, Bhagirath, he did so much fantastic tapasya that Ganga Mata, became convinced to come to earth to save his descendants. And she came first from Shiva's head, broke the fall of the Ganga. And then she was following Bhagirath. There's Bhagirath here, who's leading her to the 60,000 ancestors who need Ganga's mercy. So there she is, Ganga's following him. Anyway.
That's why she's got the name Bhagirathi.
Bhagirathi, yeah. But at one point, she disturbed the meditation of a sadhu, Janu, and he drank her all up. And in this tomorrow is the day where she was released through his right ear. But what we want to do, and therefore she's also known as Jahnavi, after Janu Muni. Now, what we want to do is take a dip in the Ganga, the different places. Now, Ganga, she originates in the Himalayas. The source of the Ganga is in the Himalayas. And
the Chardam there.
This is the Chardam, and Gangotri is where Ganga flows through. The Bhagirathi, she's called. And she comes. So we're going to start from Gangotri. And this is Gangotri. Gomukh, even above Gangotri, where there's glaciers, and you can travel there still, quite close to the glacier, not very close, but quite close. And you can actually bathe here. We had the fortune of going here 2010, which is about 20 years ago. 12 years ago, sorry. No, more, isn't it? 22 years ago. Oh, 12 years ago, yeah, 12 years ago, sorry, yeah. And we can actually, we actually bathed in this water. It's freezing cold, but it was very purifying. So we can do that same. We can say Ganga Mata 3 times, and just by Manasi Seva, we can actually bathe. We can't go there physically because we're in the UK. So because of that restriction, we can actually bathe mentally and we get the same benefit. So we can do it 3 times. Ganga Mata ki jai, Ganga Mata ki jai, Ganga Mata ki jai. And then we can go to Gangotri. This is also where Ganga moves very, very fast. It's so fast that you can't even hear yourself. The flow creates such a racket. But it's a very fascinating place. And again, you can hold on to the railings here and bathe. Ganga Mata ki jai, Ganga Mata ki jai, Ganga Mata ki jai. And you can see the Himalayas here. It's a fascinating place. So we're going to go all the way down. Next stop is Rishikesh. Oh, Devprayag. Yeah, that's in between Gangotri and Rishikesh.
That's where she splits up again.
She splits up again. As you can see here, there's 2 colors. There's
Yamuna.
the Yamuna, and then there's the Ganga. Yamuna is black, Ganga is whitish. And then we come to Rishikesh, and Devprayag, we can bathe there. Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai. Then we come to Rishikesh, very famous place. Rishi means saintly, Kesh, the residence of the saintly people. And here, some very beautiful ashrams, some very saintly personalities meditate here. And there's 2 bridges here, Lakshmanjula and Ramjula. And we can bathe here as well.
Here, she's not as fast flowing.
Yeah, not as fast flowing. Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai. And then we go to Haridwar. Haridwar is very special. I think everybody here probably has been there, or at some point in their life will go there. And Haridwar is a place where one dies, one can take, or one can get burned, cremated on the banks here, or even take our ashes of the beloved ones and place them in the Ganga here. So Hariki Puri this is the central place, and we can bathe here. Ganga goes a little quick here, so we can hold on to the railings here. All these devotees will be there to do the same. So we then dip in. Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai. And if you see here, there's a priest here sitting, and he helps to do the ceremonies. There's many of these. Yeah.
Many like that.
And then next stop is Kanpur. I haven't been to Kanpur. So we can do Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai. Next is going to be Allahabad. Now here is really interesting because the Triveni Sangam joins here. Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati. Saraswati is actually underground. Ganga is here, and Yamuna is here. You can see very distinctively the 2 rivers are separate. This is called Prayag or Allahabad. And here many people come and do Shrad for their ancestors. You can go in the middle of the rivers on a boat, and they have a little platform where you can do all the different ceremonies. Phenomenal place. Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai. Then Varanasi, very famous place where Lord Shiva's main temple is based, Shri Vishwanath. And it's a beautiful place. Along the bank of the Ganga is many ghats, bathing places, maybe 20, 25. And you can take a boat, go to each one and bathe there. It's a fascinating place. Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai. And it's also known as Kashi in the old days. Banaras, many names. And then we go to Patna in Bihar. Again, we can bathe here. Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai. And then the next stop is Navadvip or Mayapur. And this is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birthplace is, and they're building this phenomenal TOVP, Temple of Vedic Planetarium. Fascinating place, worth visiting at least once in our life. Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai. And finally, we come to Ganga Sagar. Ganga Sagar is in the Bay of Bengal. And then from there, Ganga goes into the netherworlds to free the ancestors of Bhagirath. And here we can also do the same. Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai. So that's a little idea of this amazing river. I won't go into anything else because we're a little short of time now. But she's got many names: Bhagirathi, Jahnavi, Nikita, Janu, Kanya, Sapteshwari, Sureshwari, Bhagavati, Vaishnavi, Vishnupadi, Mandakini, Gangika, Gange, Alakananda. Beautiful names. And of course, in Mauritius, there is Ganga there as well. Ganga Talau, yeah. Which our devotees who are in Mauritius are very familiar with. fascinating place. So, anything you'd like to share, Karuna, about Ganga Talau?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So this is a natural lake, and it was discovered by someone living in the north of the island, and this one is in the south. The lake is in the south. So at that time, he walked from the north for days and days, and then he went in the jungle, and then he discovered the lake. And he had a dream before, saying that he saw that there was Ganga over there. So because he was from India, so he was very much attached to praying to Ganga. And of course, now we have so many temples around. So it has developed a lot. We have roads to go, but before they were going by foot to, as if in a pilgrimage. Every year for Mahashivratri in February, March, many Hindus, they go. Most Hindus, they go and they have puja done over there for Lord Shiva, and of course for Ganga Mata. It's a really very serene place, very quiet, very peaceful, and really we do feel the presence of Ganga Mata. It's wonderful.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Even when we're bathing in the morning, you know, if we say Ganga Maya ki jai, Yamuna Maya ki jai, Saraswati Devi ki jai, she's actually there. So this is the power of a spiritual personality. So let's leave it at that. Thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Ganga Mata ki jai. Let's stop this.